episode 233 of the All the Book Show, recorded at the David A. Howe Public Library. We talk book news, author news, literary news. I'm Eric Mickles, and Nick Gunning, you have failed this podcast.
Oh, no. You want to talk Green Arrow
Flip.
today? Oh, no.
Yeah, then I shot you. Shot you dead.
Eric's subtle intro there was to remind everyone that we're finally talking Green Arrow. It's been a while since we've been talking about this, and here we are, finally ready to do it.
Yeah.
The Arrow series, Stephen Amell CW Green Arrow series has ended. The spin-off Green Arrow and the Canaries so far has still not been officially picked up to series as we record here in February, so we'll see where that goes. But with that show wrapping up, we thought it'd be a good time to talk about everybody's favorite Emerald Archer. Did you like that?
Yeah, it's all right.
It's Silver Age, it's a classic. So we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But before we get into that, we have some literary awards. We have some bookmark. We have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a busy show today.
Yeah.
Let's open the old bookmark, see where we are. Boy, let's see. Why don't you go first? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I've been reading some comics on Comixology.
Yes.
But no Jurassic. They've only have the. It's weird. They had that one Dangerous Games one in a trade form.
Okay.
And then they had Jurassic Park, the Redemption.
Yeah.
But only in single issues. And they don't have the other one where like it happens in Arizona or something, like the Arizona desert.
Okay.
So instead, I've decided to wait for this computer to be very slow. I finished I Am Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall.
Every time you say this, I say, what's that? But I actually remember this time.
Okay.
It was that book that we featured on the Sexy New Book Club several episodes back.
Yeah.
It was one you wanted to read based on your initial reaction to it.
Reactions.
Was it rewarding in the end? Are you glad you read it?
So it is the girl goes to live with her father. Her father's basically living in the Canadian wilderness, depart from all civilization, no contact with anybody. Her mom had died, so she has to go live with there. She's not happy about it because it's in the middle of nowhere. Fortunately, her dad used to be in contact with the wrong kind of people, and in the end, she is left alone in this wilderness with only herself, a dog, and what she can gather. So it's a bit Hatchet. It's a bit Hunger Games. It's a bit, I don't know, what the opposite of Taken? Given?
Is it still here?
Yes.
I don't know.
It gets pretty brutal at times. I don't know. I didn't like her dad at all, which I mean, I guess we're not supposed to. The main character was never one that I was too invested in, but it was still like if somebody was like, I want Hatchet, but older.
Yeah.
I guess I'd recommend this.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
All right.
So I'm Still Alive by Kate Marshall Alice. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
or
I
is
think
it
so.
Kate Alice Marshall?
I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just believing whatever you're saying.
Well, I'm just trying to keep up. Kate Alice Marshall is the name. So
great.
Pretty good. I think that was 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished today. Let's see. So, on Comixology, I read Bloodshot, or I have been reading Bloodshot.
Okay.
With that Vin Diesel movie coming out.
Yeah.
So this is all like rebooted stuff. I guess all the old like 90s stuff I'd have to just read individually issues, which I feel like I want to. Bloodshot's the guy who's he's full of nanites.
Oh, like the Borg.
I guess.
Okay.
The nanites can basically do anything you want them to do when you're a writer. They're basically magic.
Yeah.
The main one is that they can heal him.
Okay.
That's important.
Yeah.
But they're protein based.
Yeah.
So he has to eat a lot of meat to keep those nanites going. So
It is
sometimes he has like no legs, he's missing an arm, and he's next to a cow, and then cut to the next panel, the cow's gone, and he's looking better.
Is this the Vin Diesel character where he's just a tree?
Yes.
This is the tree.
This is the tree Vin
Okay.
Diesel character.
All right.
Off of Comixology, on my Marvel Unlimited app, I've been reading All New Wolverine. I read Orphans of X. This is where a bunch of people who have been who have dealt with their loved ones being killed.
It's like a group therapy situation.
Yeah, they try to kill all the Wolverine-like characters. They get a hold of that blade that can kill Wolverine, and they turn it into bullets.
Yikes. Is Vin Diesel in this?
No.
Okay.
This has been pretty good. We actually have this. This is by Tom Taylor. We have the whole series in our collection here. Like all 6 volumes, or I believe it is.
I started this. I read at least the first volume, if not the first couple.
It's very good. It's very funny. It's got some heart. It's pretty brutal at times. Daken, this might be the only time I've ever liked Daken.
Who is Wolverine's son?
Wolverine's son, yeah.
Okay.
So, however, the idea of like a bunch of people being upset that a Wolverine has killed all their loved ones was done by Jason Aaron in that one where Wolverine accidentally killed all his children.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that sounded familiar to me.
That was a good one. All right, I also read Iceman. Iceman's first ongoing. This is by. I want to make sure I get the author.
Well,
right.
since the J.M. DeMatteis miniseries, anyway.
Yeah, the Cinna Grace wrote this. So this was 11 issues. I've just finished it.
2-volume set. Yeah, I read that a while
Two-volume
back.
set. It's Iceman dealing with the fact that he's now he's come out, and he's also trying to balance where does that put him with the X-Men and in life, having been in the closet like his whole life, but also dealing with his parents who've never been okay with him being an X-Men or a mutant, and now adding that element onto it. It's one of those things where I'm just like, just don't talk to your parents anymore.
Yeah,
but
seriously.
he seems to want to.
I guess.
Strange.
People are gonna do what they're gonna do.
Yeah. I forgot it today. I'm so upset. I left all my reading material at home, but I am reading right now Altered Carbon by Richard K. Morgan.
Okay.
This is
Netflix show?
Now a Netflix show.
It is,
yeah.
okay.
I think it's only getting its second season like in a couple of weeks.
Oh wow.
So it's okay so far. Interesting. It hasn't really. I haven't gotten far. But what I've read has been cool.
Nice.
That's it. I guess I watched Parasite, the movie Parasite.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah. Do you want to talk about the Academy Awards?
I watched the Oscars.
Okay.
I guess that's a bookmark.
Do you want to give us some of the winners?
Off the top of my head, International and Best Picture went to Parasite.
Okay.
Joaquin Phoenix won for The Joker.
Yes, I've heard
for
of that.
Best Actor.
Yep.
Best Actress went to Renee Zellweger for Judy. Supporting Actor went to Brad Pitt.
Yes.
And Supporting Actress went to Laura Dern.
How did you handle that? Were you pretty excited?
What? Was I excited about what?
Laura Dern winning?
Yeah. Yeah, Adam Driver. It was like
you love Laura
they showed
Dern.
Adam Driver when he was being nominated. And I realized he was sitting next to Laura Dern.
Yeah.
And I felt like if I was at the Oscars and they're like, here, you can sit here, and then Laura Dern sat down next to me, I would somehow spill a soup that I didn't know I had all over myself.
You'd order a soup and then spill it on your body.
Spill it all over myself. I would, I don't know, pull out my hair.
Really?
I'm just like, hi. I would just start quoting Jurassic Park at her.
Yeah. You definitely would
She
do
would just
that.
sit down and like, hi, I'm Laura. And I'm like, you never had power. That's the illusion.
Yeah.
And she'd be like,
okay. From the film, yeah.
Yeah.
Security.
Talk to Anthony Hopkins about switching places.
Right.
No, I don't want to.
That'd be creepy.
That's a bad Anthony Hopkins.
Actually, I thought it was pretty good.
Thank
I
you.
definitely heard what you were doing in there.
Anything else big? Toy Story 4 won Best Animated.
Yeah, I like that.
And then
I was really pleased with that movie.
a couple other stuff.
Okay,
So
cool.
Kind of surprising. 1917 didn't win too much. Joker didn't really win too much. It was at one point they were talking about like production design. It's like as they help us imagine what it was like to be in World War I or Gotham City. I'm like, we know what it's like to be in Gotham City.
We're familiar. We've seen it.
And it's just funny now.
Somewhere you know that Jack Nicholson is just fuming.
I know.
He didn't get anything for the Joker.
Haven't seen Joker or Marriage Story, but I'm okay. Every scene they've shown in Marriage Story, I'm like, well, I'm a child of divorce. I've been through this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
And then with Joker, it's just kind of like, yeah, I know, but I don't want to. I guess I should. People tell me I should.
Okay.
But they also tell me when I say, like, I don't want to watch it because it seems like it's going to be brutally violent. They're like, no, it's just this one scene where somebody gets stabbed through the eye and then continued to be stabbed.
Enough.
And I'm just like, what? When I say I don't want to deal with brutal violence, what are you thinking of?
Exactly.
Anyway. Yeah, that's it. It's about the Oscars. The Parasite was very good. It's very different from what I thought it was going to be about, but it's funny. It's dark. It gets very brutal at the end. A lot of brutal violence that I had to turn away for. So, but I didn't love the host, but I really liked Snowpiercer. If that helps.
Yeah.
Same director.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Chris Evans, Snowpiercer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure I was on task with you there.
All right.
My turn?
All right. Yeah.
I mean, I read a lot of comics because we've got
Look at this guy over there.
We've got our Green Arrow spotlight that we're doing today, and we're also going to be doing a Birds of Prey spotlight next week. So I was really just bouncing back and forth between the Green Arrow and the Birds of Prey.
Who's your favorite Birds of Prey?
Oh, I mean, Black
Mine's
Canary.
the Peregrine Falcon.
Black Canary. So I finished the whole Rebirth Birds of Prey.
That's also wrong.
Is only
It's Huntress.
oh.
I guess we're gonna fight next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
Birds of
Sizzle.
Prey Rebirth is 3 volumes, which I actually really liked. It starts a little
okay,
slow.
is this
but
Birds of Prey or is this Batgirl and the Birds of Prey?
Batgirl and the Birds of Prey.
Okay, because
Batgirl and the Birds of
the
Prey.
Rebirth
yes.
was just under the Batgirl and Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I read that whole 3-volume set. We'll talk about that a little bit next week.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd enjoy that too.
Yeah.
If you're so inclined to read it.
Not doing so hot at the box office, I guess.
I heard that. Yeah.
But
I read many Green Arrows. One I'll mention is Connor Hawke, Dragon's Blood.
the cover looks so 90s.
It is so 90s. This is about Green Arrow's son, Connor Hawke, who goes off on a archery contest and ends up fighting a dragon. So it was crazy, but I kind of liked
like
it.
Dr. Dolittle movie.
Like I finished it and was like, well, that was nuts, but then I kind of liked it. So
Mhm.
anyway, I read those. I'm currently reading The Noble Hustle by Colson Whitehead.
Is this a poker book?
It is a poker book. Yeah, he was just kind of an amateur poker player, and he gets
Oh.
staked $10,000 by a magazine to go and write an article about it. And so he like buys into this major game,
Mhm.
and that's what the book is about. So
Oh.
at this point, he's still doing like smaller things to get up there, but he only
Right.
had like 60 days to prepare. So
Okay.
a really interesting premise for the book, and I'm enjoying it so far.
You should watch the movie Rounders.
Oh, with
I'm
Matt Damon.
so late to the party.
Yeah, I guess so.
I am about 22 years late
Yeah.
to getting into Rounders,
Yeah.
but I think I loved it
Oh,
because I
Okay.
keep talking about it.
I know. Well, it keeps checking out here. It's crazy.
Yeah, I bought it for the library the weekend after I watched it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just keeps checking out.
Nobody will read it.
Apparently, it was a huge it kind of created the poker boom
Oh,
that we got
okay.
later on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm also reading Call of the Wild by Jack London. So if you'll remember, I don't know, hundreds of episodes ago at this point, we were going to do our old switcheroo thing
Yeah.
where I give you a book and you give me a book. And then
Uh-huh.
we decided we don't have time for that.
Yeah, but Harrison Ford has only been in one of those movies now.
That's true. My suggestion was Domestic Violets by
Yeah.
Matthew Norman, which I still think is a great book.
Mhm.
I tried to read his second book, We're All Damaged, and I really didn't like it. But Domestic Violence is still great. But anyway, we were gonna do a whole swap of these. But I'm reading Call of the Wild, and we're gonna be talking Jack London in a couple of weeks
Call of the Wild.
because Eric's a fan of movies with CGI dogs.
No, I'm not a fan of what I've seen for that
Yeah,
movie.
you're a fan of that movie, and so I think you should read the book.
That's not
And
cool.
anyway, I'm also reading Green Arrow: Black Arrow by Mike Grell. This is part of the Mike Grell's classic 80-issue run on Green Arrow, which I discovered in preparation for this podcast and now love it.
yeah.
So that's been a fun time.
Black
for me.
Arrow is basically his Negaduck.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
So that's it for me, reading
Yeah.
wise. I've got a stack.
that was a
as always,
Darkwing Duck
but
reference, everybody.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it instantly. Let's move into some book news. All right. Well,
Right.
I have.
Have you been watching The Outsider on HBO?
No.
People are loving it.
I know they are, and the book is just so. The premise of the book I find so dark and upsetting. I just can't read it.
On Netflix, they just recently dropped Joe Hill's Lock and Key adaptation, which was
Okay.
Joe Hill did a comic book. I think it was Vertigo.
I think it was
Lock
Or
and Key.
Might have actually been Dynamite. Actually,
Dynamite. Anyway, I read the first volume. I didn't read any more. It was very dark, and there were some brutal moments in it. It's TV-14 on Netflix, and you watch the tone. It's very kind of confusing because there's some scenes where it's like, oh, that person's just covered in blood. But in other ways, it looks just kind of like a Tim Burton's like kids film.
weird.
So I don't really know. So
like James and the Giant Peach.
no,
It doesn't look like that.
he wasn't involved in that one.
That's not true.
He wasn't.
Tim
No.
Burton didn't do James and the Giant Peach.
No, he didn't direct Nightmare Before Christmas. The other guy did. And so Tim Burton took his name off James of the Giant Peach so that the guy would get the full credit this time. However, I think
Really?
maybe he just knew that James of the Giant Peach wasn't a good movie.
Huh. Well, he's still a producer on
Yeah.
it. He's still listed as a
Yeah,
producer.
but it's
so-
not like from the mind. It's not his
Yeah.
story or anything.
Well, it was creepy, that movie. I don't know.
Anyway,
It's IDW, everyone. Lock and Key is produced by IDW Comics.
ugh. I used to like IDW.
Then what happened?
I read their Jurassic Park crap.
Well, they've been very good to Star Trek.
You know when
so-
Ian Malcolm sees Laura Dern digging through the poop and he's like, that's a big pile of the S word?
Yeah.
That's how I felt reading those books.
Well, the images you shared, I think, really.
What was I going to say
No
about?
idea.
Oh,
I don't
anyway,
know.
if you've watched Lock and Key, tell us what the tone is,
Okay.
because I'm not watching it.
Yeah, you can find us at Twitter at All the Book
Yeah.
Show. Let us know. First, I want to announce a literary award.
Nick and Eric present the awards.
Thank you.
The Andrew Carnegie Medal for Excellence. A little
Is this the
background.
guy who was in Yankee Doodle Dandy? That's James
Cagney?
Never mind.
I don't think James Cagney had anything to do with this. No. The Andrew Carnegie Medals for Excellence in Fiction and Nonfiction, established in 2012, recognize the best fiction and nonfiction books for adult readers published in the U.S. in the previous year and serve as a guide to help adults select quality reading material. The winners for this year include Lost Children Archive by Valeria Lucelli. Intense and timely, Valeria Lucelli's novel tracks husband and wife audio documentarians as they travel cross-country with their 2 children and deep into the painful history of the Apache people and the present immigration crisis on the southwest border, while freshly exploring themes of conquest and remembrance and powerfully conveying the beauty of the haunted landscape. That sounds heavy. And our nonfiction winner is...
There's that word again. Is gravity the same in the future?
I love that. I love that Back to the Future poll. Thank you. Midnight in Chernobyl, the untold story of the world's greatest nuclear disaster by Adam Higginbotham. Adam Higginbotham has created a
I'm glad you can laugh.
researched, fast-paced, engrossing, and revelatory account of what led up to and what followed the explosion of Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant on April 26, 1986, focusing on the people involved as they face shocking circumstances that are having complex and significant global consequences.
I was born in 1986.
Really?
Yes.
You can find more about the Andrew Carnegie Award at ala.org, ala.org/awards grants/ Carnegie Adult. What a simple URL that is. But you can just do a search for that. Anyway, those are the 2 winners for that.
Oh, congratulations, winners.
Anything else for the good of book news? What do we got on the bestseller list?
Yeah, there's some stuff about that.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
All right, so number 10 on the New York Times bestsellers list
For adult.
hardcover fiction
Okay.
for adults.
All right.
For the grown-up in your life.
Big people.
If you got to do some Valentine's Day shopping
Yep.
for the love of your life,
Yeah.
or you just want a book and you're an adult.
Let me ask you a serious question.
Yeah,
Did you not know that Valentine's Day was this week?
I did not,
Okay.
but I'm totally prepared.
Really?
I guess we'll go see Sonic the Hedgehog the movie.
Blue streak.
One year
Speeds by.
we did go see the Lego Batman movie for
I remember
Valentine's
that.
Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. I had a great time. I don't know if I did great on Valentine's Day then.
Oh, I think no. I think objectively
Okay.
no. Yeah.
I mean, we went out to eat and then we saw it. We went to Applebee's.
Okay. America's favorite.
All
neighbor.
right, I get it. This year, I'm prepared. When is it again?
Friday.
Oh my gosh.
The 14th.
All right, number 10 on the New York Times bestsellers list is The Guardians by John Grisham. Colin Post, a lawyer and Episcopal minister, antagonizes some ruthless killers when he takes on a wrongful conviction case.
It's fun stuff.
Yeah, it's always fun
Yeah.
when you're a John Grisham book.
That's right.
Number 9. Number 9, A Long Petal of the Sea by Isabel Allende.
Oh, yes.
A young pregnant widow and an army doctor take a ship to Chile to escape the aftermath of the Spanish Civil War. Did I say Chile wrong?
No, you said it right.
Why did you laugh then?
I don't know.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know.
All right. You're going to be doing this for a book club soon.
Maybe.
Don't think you're not.
Maybe.
The Dutch House is at number 8 by Ann Patchett. Sibling relationship is impacted when the family goes from poverty to wealth and back again over the course of many decades. Did you see the Connors are doing like a live show?
No.
I feel like if I was John Goodman, I'd be tired.
Isn't the live show craze kind of past?
Yes, I think Drew Carey killed it.
Yeah, that's true.
So killed it dead.
Hey, can I ask your opinion? Do you have any opinions about the
Drew Carey
the
show?
new Fantasy Island movie coming out? It's like a horror movie.
Like, no, I got nothing.
Nothing?
I have no attachments to Fantasy
Nothing.
Island.
Well, I don't either. Okay, just
So-
curious.
Only through parodies am I familiar with Fantasy Island.
Drew Carey show was pretty choice for quite a while,
Yeah,
and then it really went off the rails.
yeah. Well, once Courtney,
Yeah,
Krista Miller.
yeah. Kristen Miller.
Once Krista Miller left,
Man, it was not.
yeah, I was like, cool. Now, that other person can't.
yeah, it was a lot.
Number 7, Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. Tumult ensures when Alex Chamberlain's babysitter is mistakenly accused of kidnapping her charge. Such a fun age.
Yes.
Silent Patient is at number 6 by Alex McKillides.
Wow, is that making a comeback, or has it been there the whole time?
It's been here for 35 weeks.
Really?
It hasn't
Okay.
moved from this spot since
Okay.
last week. Theo Faber looks into the mystery of a famous painter who stopped speaking after shooting her husband. Dear Edward is at number 4. Oh, nope. Number 5. Dear Edward is at number 5 by Anne Napolitano. 12-year-old boy tries to start over after becoming a sole survivor of a plane crash in which he has lost his immediate family. Oof. Oof, I don't want to ride planes anymore.
Yeah,
ever.
seriously.
Number 4, Lost by James Patterson and James O'Bourne. The new head of the FBI task force takes on a crime syndicate run by a pair of Russian nationals who went down on a plane on a mysterious island.
Fantasy Island?
That was Lost.
Oh,
the book's
okay,
called
okay,
Lost.
All right.
James Patterson is going to explain to you what the smoke monster is.
Wow, if he knows, I'd love for him to tell me.
When You See Me by Lisa Gardner. New this week at number 3, Dee Warren and Flora Dane join the FBI agent Kimberly Quincy's task force. And she's not having any of their tomfoolery.
Mm-mm.
Do you ever call up a pizza
New
place,
sheriff in town.
ask them if they have an order for Tom, and when they ask for the last name, you say foolery, and then you hang up?
No.
It's so funny.
I mean, it sounds funny. I was never much of a prankster like that.
Oh, I've done that.
I
You
believe
call up and ask if there's an order for walls there, and they say no, and you go, oh, so there's no walls there? Then how's your building standing up? And then you hang up. Very funny.
Were you making these prank calls in like 1962?
I was making these prank calls in 2007.
Just you and the cast of Happy Days? Just
Do you think the cast of Happy Days would like me?
I don't
you
know. I
couldn't
mean,
answer
no,
right
no,
away.
I think Ron Howard is a pretty. He seems like a good guy. He's a good dude.
I
Henry
mean, if he
Winkler.
puts up with a mouth,
Yeah.
Ralph the Mouth.
Ralph
then-
Melf.
Yeah, I
Melf,
think.
yeah.
Who's the other guy?
Potsy?
Potsy. Yeah, I feel like if he hangs out with the friends he hangs out with,
Yeah.
I'd be okay.
Yeah.
He'd be like, I'm usually not used to hanging out with somebody so put together.
Yeah, could be.
So
Could be.
I don't know how to work a car though.
Hmm.
Like I'd have to call the Fonz up all the
Yeah,
time. Like
yeah,
Fonz,
yeah.
I can't get this to work.
Yeah. Just say crawdad so we can move on.
That is at number 2, where the crawdads sing. Though if you look for it on Amazon, you can find it under I Know Why the Crawdads Sing.
Really?
Yes.
That's funny.
I was looking up
Maya Angelou.
that was that was what Amazon was autofilling.
That's funny.
Number 1, American Dirt by Jenny Cummings. A bookseller flees Mexico for the United States with her son while pursued by the head of a drug cartel. And this certainly isn't glamorizing or sensationalizing a real world issue in any way, Nick. It is.
Yes, I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm aware.
All
All
right.
right. Do it?
That's number 1. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think.
Wait. Also, a little shameless self-promotion on my end.
Oh.
If you listen to our J.M. DeMatteis podcast that we did a while ago,
Yes.
where we talked about Batman going sane, which is a great time to plug the Going Sane episode we did.
Yeah.
Because we did that in time for the movie of Joker. And now, guess what? Joker won an Oscar in Joaquin Phoenix performance.
Yes.
Anyways, if you have or are about to listen to that podcast, part 2, where J.M. DeMatteis talks to me and Hillary on Previously on X-Men, is up.
Yeah.
We talk about X Factor and
Yeah.
Iceman.
It's actually on the All the Books episode, which is episode 218, or there's just a standalone version of it you can listen to as
J.M.
well.
DeMatteis.
We sort of start with his writing on the Joker, but then we go all over the place.
Talk about some
we really
Cravens,
talk
talk
a
about
lot
his process.
Yeah, a lot about the different things.
Yeah.
And then for Previously on X-Men, you guys started focusing on the Iceman miniseries, which is bananas.
Which is bananas,
and
yeah.
he would agree.
Yep.
And then you really get into it about collaboration and,
Yep.
and working with illustrators and that
Talking
sort of thing.
about his appreciation of the letterer.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah.
And just how sometimes you get on a gig and you're like, I get to work with this artist. And the artist leaves after the first
Yep.
book. You're like, oh, come on.
Yeah. I listened to it this morning. I thought it was a great interview.
So that's the second part of that.
And where do they find that?
Is you can find us at Previously on X at Twitter and Facebook.
Okay.
Whew.
And that'll link to the episodes. Great. All right. Well, enough about the Joker. Today we're talking about another man with a green top.
Because, wow.
Because he's got
Jeez. Yeah, you know what?
he's
The
got the
Joker
hat.
would love that segue.
I know he
You
would.
know who wouldn't?
Who?
Green Arrow.
I know. We're talking about Green Arrow, everybody. As we mentioned at the top of the show, the CW Arrow has just closed after 8 years, and of course it spawned many spin-offs within the
Spawn?
Arrowverse, as it's called now. Not Spawn.
Oh,
So that came to a close. I watched the finale. Eric hasn't, so we're not going to spoil anything.
thank you.
But we thought now would be a good time to go back and take a look at the character who has a long and weird history.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I thought to start, maybe we'd just say, when are you first aware of Green Arrow?
That is a good question.
Should I have primed you with that before I just...
No,
toss it
I'm
over to
trying
you?
to think when the first time I ever found him in a book or anything.
Well, I can tell you it probably
Oh.
wasn't 1941, but that is when he was created by
Mm.
Mort Weisinger and George Papp. He first appeared in More Fun Comics number
Yeah.
73.
He's a bit of a Batman ripoff day one.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yes.
His Arrow Cave, his Arrow car,
Yes.
everything was
yes. I mean,
existential.
right down to it. With he has a sidekick, Speedy.
Yep.
He's just his Robin stand-in. He
Yeah.
has a police commissioner he works with.
Mhm.
He's rich. I mean, he is very much
Yeah.
a Batman clone.
Yeah.
They're just trying to make something stick. But
Yeah.
the character stuck around.
Which
as,
you want an Arrow to do.
Exactly. Character stuck around in More Fun Comics for several issues, and then eventually he and Speedy kind of made their way to the cover, dethroning Dr. Fate and the Spectre, who had been the cover feature of More Fun for a
Right.
while. After that, he bounced around for quite a bit with Adventure Comics, World's Finest Comics, before eventually getting his own series, but not for a long time. This is a character with nearly 80 years of history, and it was quite a while. It was the 80s before he got a
Yeah.
Green Arrow title. But
Yeah, it was the cocaine in the air, man. You
I
just
guess
gave
so.
everybody their own title
I
at
guess
that point.
I guess that's what happened.
Yeah.
The 80s is definitely when I discovered Green Arrow, though not through not through that
Like
standalone
you-
series.
In the 80s,
Yeah.
discovered the Green Arrow.
Yeah.
I always forget that you were like aware of your surroundings in the 80s.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
And you're just like, man, it's 1988.
Yeah.
I'm having a ball.
you're right.
Where's
I-
that cocaine?
But did my vamping about Green Arrow give you enough time to figure out?
I'm having a hard time. I honestly think the first time I ever picked up a book that had Green Arrow in it, it would be The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Dark Knight Returns was your introduction to the Green Arrow?
Yeah.
Like you weren't familiar with him before that?
Well, I mean, my comic reading experience is basically X-Men,
Oh.
some Marvel like Daredevil and Spider-Man and Hulk, and then Batman. And like that's all I like.
This is a weird aspect to your comic book history that I forget about every single time we talk
What?
about
that I
comic
got
books.
that I got into it
That
late
you started so late.
in 2000. But
Yeah.
I was 14. I mean, I was a teenager.
I don't ever remember. I remember
Mhm.
like when I was 4,
Right.
saving money in a mason jar so
Right.
that I could buy like a Wonder Woman action figure.
I didn't know what to do.
Interesting.
So
Okay, so it was Dark Knight.
Dark Knight Returns
Yeah.
because he's in there. He's only got one arm.
Yeah.
Superman had tore it off
Yeah.
in an
Pretty
unseen
dark.
story. He helps Batman defeat Superman
Yeah.
by hitting him with a kryptonite arrow at the big climax of it all.
You
So-
do see that Green Arrow in the Arrowverse at one point.
Oh, that's
I
fun.
think it maybe is in an episode of Legends of Tomorrow
Ah.
where you see an alternate
Mm.
version of that. Okay, so
Yeah.
so that's a weird entry point for Green Arrow.
Yeah.
I think mine. I mean, it's definitely Super Friends.
Mm.
You know, the Super Friends, which spanned like a decade in various incarnations.
Well, I didn't watch any of those cartoons.
Yeah.
So, like, the first time I saw him in animated form was when they introduced him in Justice League Unlimited.
Well, he's not very prominent in Super Friends.
Right.
I know he's in a couple of, maybe even just one, honestly. But it was that, and it was the action figures.
Mhm.
There was Kenner had this run of action figures that I loved. I
Uh-huh.
mean, I love them all the time.
Star Wars?
No, Superpowers. It was the Superpowers line.
Right.
So I had the Hall of Justice. I had a carrying case, and that carrying case
Uh-huh.
had stickers for all the different panels of like where you'd put the action figures.
Right.
And they each had a little 1 to 2 sentence origin for the
Oh.
character. That was where I learned about most, like Green Lantern, definitely.
Right.
Green Arrow, they all had their own little thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get the Green Arrow action figure. I coveted this action figure for my whole childhood, really,
Mm-hmm.
because, back in the day, it was like when they stopped having the Kenner action figures
Are
in
you
the
getting
store.
emotional?
No.
Are you crying about
No,
how
I'm not.
you didn't get the Green Arrow?
No, when they stopped having this Kenner line of action figures in like Toys R Us, they were
Uh-huh.
just impossible to find.
Right.
It's like you better pray you found it at a garage sale.
Right.
And I just never got the Green
Hmm.
Arrow, and I wanted it so badly.
Right.
And I didn't find it when I was an adult.
Mhm.
I found one at a flea market, and I definitely bought it.
Okay.
But I didn't have it when I was a kid. So, but that little panel in the action figure carrying case and the
Uh-huh.
little comics that came with them
Mhm.
were definitely that's where I first got to know Green Arrow.
Nice. Yeah, outside of that one thing, I don't remember how much I saw him in Infinite Crisis at the time. But you know what? So it would have been because Justice League, the cartoon that
Yeah.
came out, part of that like Batman animated series universe.
Yeah.
It had 2 seasons where it was just Justice League.
Mhm.
And then its 3rd season, it became Justice League Unlimited, and they introduced a whole bunch of new people. And the first episode had Green Arrow in it.
Yeah.
And he kind of became like a pretty big character in that, in at least the first 2 seasons of that.
Okay.
So that's really where I got to know the character.
I think the Justice League era is a pretty good introduction to that character.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the times when he's like really right
Mhm.
because what I've learned after doing like a deep dive of the Mike Grell stuff is that he has a lot of dark history too. Like I guess I sort of locked into that like sort of boozy playboy Green Arrow who's like fun and kind of a jerk. Like when I think of Green Arrow, that's the one I think of, and I sort of thought with the Arrow show that was more of just them trying to do Batman Begins more than anything else, just trying to get that vibe. But the more I read of the Mike Grell stuff, the more I realize like there really is like this very dark history to the character. So I feel like more than any other character, he has this like dichotomy of being this like dark, broody, violent character and being like a good time Charlie. You know, it's a weird thing. So let's look at comics.
Good Time Charlie was the name of his 70s miniseries.
Oh, okay.
Green Arrow in Good Time Charlie.
Yeah. So he started early in the 40s, and I think when the superhero craze was really going, they were like, we need more. We need more of these things. Yeah. So George Weisinger created him, obviously taking some cues from Robin Hood, but also took a lot of inspiration from a movie serial called The Green Archer, which was based on a book by Edgar Wallace, which we actually have this serial in our system. So if you want to watch it, you can. I watched a little bit of it. But as I said, he kind of bounced around the universe, the catch-all comics for a while. Yeah. He has a really fun issue in Adventure Comics, Adventure Comics 258. It's where he teams up with Superboy, which I loved. And so like when the character showed up in Smallville, I was like, hey, just like in that old Adventure Comics run.
There you go.
Anyway, it's 1969 when you have Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil stepping in.
What season does he show up in Smallville?
Oh, I don't know, five or six, something like that.
So maybe he showed up in Smallville before Justice League.
Oh, I guess it's possible.
I wasn't watching Smallville at the time, so weird. Yeah. There must have been something else I just can't remember.
I don't know what it would have been.
Yeah.
In that era, I don't have any idea.
All right.
But let's talk a little bit about the Denny O'Neil Neil Adams run where he's partnered with Green Lantern. So this is where we first get the Van Dyke beard, you know, and more of the new costume. That sort of
big time leftist.
You get a little taste of that in The Brave and the Bold, but then you know, as he's continued to be incorporated into things like Justice League of America and all that, Steve Englehart uses him quite a bit in his Justice League books. That's where this persona starts to develop beyond just the Batman clone into more of a fun, you know, socially conscious kind of guy. But let's talk Green Lantern, Green Arrow, because that is
it's fun.
It is, but it's also like very issue of the week.
Yeah, at the time, absolutely. But also, like at the time, it was very new. I would imagine. Yeah, like in the 80s. Is this one? Yeah.
Yep.
So
very early 80s,
especially
really.
for like mainstream. Just like it's Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and they're talking about homelessness and the heroin epidemic, and you know all of this. And now, yes, it comes across a little dated, but I think you can appreciate the intention. Yeah. And, him and Green, just the way he's always calling out Green Lantern, it's just funny.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that stuff, like with Green Arrow's Ward Speedy being a heroin addict and all that, that's early. I mean, that's like 1971.
It shouldn't be funny. Yeah. But what's, I don't know. The cover has Green Lantern calling out Green Arrow. It's like, you've always got the answers, Green Arrow. What's your answer for this? Yeah. And Green Arrow's like, my Ward.
And Speedy's like shooting up right on the cover.
And Green Arrow's just like, my Ward Speedy is a junkie? Yeah. And it's just kind of like, there's just so much happening on there. Yeah. And Green Lantern is just like taking such the...
Yeah. well.
Yeah.
Get off your high horse.
Yeah.
So this run, was pretty surprising to me. I've only read this very recently, and I think you read it quite a bit ago.
I would have read this, and you know what? I've got my Goodreads. Yeah, I read this in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay,
if that times it, it doesn't tell me. Anyway,
5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, I read it a while ago.
Well, it calls out a lot of things. I didn't realize how close to things like the Bobby Kennedy assassination, Martin Luther King Jr. assassination, that these issues were, because it references those a lot.
Yeah.
So to be using that kind of like real world political tragedies in a comic book just so openly and brazenly, I would think would be pretty daring at the time. So it's weird to see. That run, I think, when they're doing more like street level stuff, works really well, and it gets a little kooky when it's like kind of it can't decide if it wants to do street level stuff or it wants to do like Green Lantern, like
well, maybe Denny O'Neil was doing a one for me, one for them kind of thing.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Like here's an issue about racism, but also here's one about Mogo, the planet, who's a Green Lantern.
Yep. Well, after that run, Green Arrow got his first self-titled story, and it's just a 4-volume thing written by Mike W. Barr, and it deals with Green Arrow sort of coming back into society and regaining some of his
in
wealth
Seattle.
and fame in Seattle,
Washington.
Yeah, it sets up a cool. It uses Count Vertigo pretty heavily and sets up a cool rivalry with the two of them.
Teams up with Frasier every now and then.
Yes, exactly. This is the first Green Arrow standalone series,
Yeah.
and it's just 4 issues, and it's not until a couple years later that he gets that kind of treatment again with Mike Grell's Green Arrow, The Longbow Hunters.
Right.
So Mike Grell had been drawing a lot of the Green Arrow, Green Lantern stuff, but took over writing duties with The Longbow Hunters. So let's talk about that for a minute.
You said duties.
I did.
Sorry.
I did.
Let's talk about it. Okay.
I first picked this up many years ago and didn't like it. I reread it for this podcast and found myself really liking it. So, well, what did you think?
I liked it. You were right to say it's more of a Vertigo title.
Yeah.
Um,
It doesn't feel like mainstream comic book continuity at all.
well, I think it feels like mainstream 80s superhero. Like if you put this in the context of like Dark Knight Returns and
That's
like the
okay.
question
Yeah, that's fair.
and all that stuff, it definitely fits. But when you read it now, like because he's in Seattle and it's so detached, it might as well not be part of the DC universe in a lot of ways. It might as well, like you said, just be a Vertigo title. The art plays a big part of that.
Yeah.
The art is gorgeous and very dreamlike at times.
It's not cartoony at all as the Green Arrow, Green Lantern stuff is. It's much more gritty and realistic and like you see like it's kind of a loose pencil drawing.
Yeah.
So it suits the story really well.
So,
but that's it's a dark story. It's you're dealing with serial killers and drug addicts and Black Canary is captured and tortured. I mean, it's
pretty brutal.
It is, and it influences the character for. I mean, right up through the Rebirth era, you're still calling back to Longbow Hunter stuff.
Yeah.
So I think,
he dies at some point.
Yeah.
During this,
Yeah.
during the 0 hour,
right?
where Green Lantern is Parallax, and isn't Green Arrow's the one who kills him?
Yeah.
Parallax.
I would say that if you're a Green Arrow fan or you just know Green Arrow from
Arrow,
yeah, or Smallville or something like that, I think Longbow Hunters is required reading. I mean, I think if you want to know more about the character, that's the one you got to read. And that's not to say you're going to love it, but it sets the tone for.
Well, you want more of it.
Yeah, I think so, because you never really get away from it.
Yeah.
I was just reading Rebirth Green Arrow recently, and there was a specific callback, even some imagery calling back to Longbow Hunters.
Oh.
So it really is the thing that I think defined the character for a long time afterwards and led to an ongoing series also by Mike Grell as the writer.
And then he died.
Ran for 80 issues. 80
issue,
issues with this, and then went on to different creators, introduced characters like Shadow, who's in Longbow Hunters, recurs throughout the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Mike Grell stuff, is a recurring character in Arrow, on CW. So really does set up a lot of it, and I'm loving that run. I'm about halfway through the Mike Grell run.
Whoa.
And I'm really loving it.
That's 40 issues.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think I'm probably there. Only the first 25 are on the DC app, and then after that I had to track down collected editions.
Tisk.
I know. But I think I would recommend this to you.
Yeah.
I think based
they
on
were all on the app.
I know. Based on like the things you like and that sort of thing, I think this would be a good run for
I like
you.
Longbow Hunters.
So, yeah. And it does really pick up from Longbow Hunters.
Right.
That Longbow Hunters is not technically volume 1 of this run, but you do have to read it first.
So the first Green Arrow comic, like by himself, book I ever read was after his death, because he died during that whole 0 hour thing. They bring him back in Quiver, and it's Kevin Smith was the writer on it. And I guess that was a thing he like suggested to them. He was in DC at the time talking about like the Superman movie and everything, and he was like, "Oh, you ever want that to bring back Green Arrow or anything? Make it a #1 seller. I can do it for you."
Yeah.
And so they got him, and he did a couple of volumes now, collector, or is just 2 volumes?
I think it's 2 volume.
Quiver and Archer's Quest
Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, or Sounds of Silence. I can't remember. Which one
Oh,
it is.
that sounds right. Sound of Violence. But Quiver, when I read it at the time, so I hadn't read any Green Arrow.
Oh, wow.
I was a little lost.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
it was also one of the things I appreciated about DC Comics in that just reading it, I was like, man, there's just so much history here. And it was kind of cool. I wanted to like the book more than I did, and I think I'd appreciate it more if I was to read it today.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, what the heck is happening?
I
I don't
know.
know this character at all.
I had no idea what was going on
Yeah.
in that book. I mean, I liked it. I liked the look of it, and I liked the story. But
Yeah, I did like the art.
I just had to sort of assume that other things are going on.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't really know.
Yeah,
but
it's very context heavy and continuity heavy. So the Quiver is not something I would just give to somebody
No.
to read, even if they were like, "Oh, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan." I'm like, "All right, but you won't like Quiver right out of the gate."
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
it
and
was
then-
it was big business for DC.
It was, and that run goes, boy, quite
while.
a few.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the last issue of that is, but a good long time of that run, and it changes hands over the years. Brad Meltzer comes along, does a couple
Like right after Kevin Smith,
Yep,
right?
yep. Judd Winnick eventually takes over.
Yeah.
And that rolls all the way through. And when that series goes by the wayside, it picks up in Green Arrow, Black Canary, where they're working together.
Yeah.
That run that starts with Kevin Smith is the only full Green Arrow run that I've read.
Oh wow.
But I've read everything start to finish, and it works. I mean, it works pretty well. I think, especially now that I have more context with what's going on in Quiver, it's good. I wouldn't say that's the one that you should pick up.
No. Honestly, if you like the show Arrow, even before Longbow Hunters, I just would suggest pick up Andy Diggle's Green Arrow Year One.
Yeah.
It's one of the few Year One books that I think really like nails the concept.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a few books that came after Batman Year One
Yep.
that put the label there, but it's really has nothing to do with their first year or becoming a hero or anything. But the Green Arrow Year One is basically he's just on the island. He's dealing with China White.
Yep.
And all these other issues. It's the art's really cool. It's very focused. I think it's only like 5 issues long, but I ended up really liking that one.
Yeah.
We have that one in the library
And
too.
definitely, if you're coming to it from the series, Year One is
Yeah.
the most approachable.
Yeah, it
by
feels
far.
like they read Year One as like, well, we know what our first flashback is going to be.
We'll just do that.
Yeah. And I mean, that the island thing was introduced in Longbow Hunters, or maybe just all the way back to his very like origin.
I know. I mean, it is in Longbow Hunters. I don't know
Yeah.
if that originally comes back. I mean,
Yeah, because I'm not a huge Arrow fan, I don't know how much time we've seen of the island, but I mean, this is very island specific. So there you go.
yep. And we have a little bit. So after the Green Arrow, Black Canary run, he dies again, right? This is where I get confused because he's resurrected in Brightest Day, and he has a 2-volume run. And
I don't know when he dies again.
does
Couldn't
he
tell you.
Does he not? I think he does.
I don't think he does.
Okay.
I think because he's around for stuff.
Yeah.
He's there during Infinite. He's part of the whole identity crisis
Right.
thing
Right.
and all that stuff.
Well, he does. He is a.
Batman
he is a,
punches him right in the jaw.
in Blackest Night. In the Blackest Night arc, he is a Black Lantern.
All right, so maybe he's dead for some
So,
reason. I don't know.
Yeah. so I don't
Don't
really
know.
know what
Maybe he
happens
died
there.
during Final Crisis.
This is like the arc that I haven't read, so I
Yeah.
don't know. But he does get a 2-volume set.
How much did you
In
like
Brightest Day.
when they rebooted the whole DC universe?
Yeah.
And New 52 was there. How much did you like his super cool Silicon Valley Green Arrow New 52 book
The New 52 run of Green Arrow
by
is
Dan Jurgens?
brutal. I
The
mean,
Midas
it is-
Touch Volume 1. That's the one I read. I gave it 2 stars at the time.
Yeah. I don't really have anything good to say about the New 52.
It was trying to do something alongside the Arrow,
Yeah.
but it was just so stupid. If you liked Arrow, you were not going to like what was
No.
in Green. This was in the New 52 stuff.
No, and I think that this really hits the mark on a lot of, or misses the mark in all areas, because I'm more of a Green Arrow fan in that sort of he's a CAD style of Green Arrow, or had been up until this point. I preferred that to the grittier, darker like Oliver who we see in the Arrow TV show. Green Arrow New 52 somehow manages to just completely miss both of those
Yeah.
concepts though.
Yeah.
He's not fun. Like he's
No.
not fun to watch at all in that.
No.
but he's also like not really serious either.
He's
It's
that
straddling a
kid
weird
you
line.
grew up in high school with who somehow became so stupid successful, and you don't know how because he was an idiot
Yeah.
in school, but somehow he's like he's working for like the San Francisco 49ers as their top media producer,
Yeah.
and you're just like, but he was an idiot.
Yeah. Well,
Ugh.
that series goes through a lot of changes.
Yeah.
I've only read the first 3 volumes of that, and I just didn't like it so
Yeah.
much. But volume 4, we have a new creative team with Jeff Lemire picking up,
Mm-hmm.
and I have liked a lot of his
Okay.
stuff.
The Rebirth run that came after,
Yeah.
brought him back to his goatee former self and
Yeah.
everything. It seems to have been a pretty big hit. People seems to really like that book. And it's surprisingly, in this day and age, like a long-running series now. I mean, 8 volumes is what we count now as
It
like
was
a long running.
just recently came to an end in if it's 50 volumes. It's 50 issue series.
Whoa.
50
Wow.
issue series.
Uh-huh.
But I think it wasn't
Still.
I don't think it was a canceled because we don't like this. It was more of a canceled because we're going in a new direction with, the No Justice era and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's all in the works that the character's
Yeah.
going to continue on. But
Yeah.
like I said, I haven't read the second half of the New 52 run, and it does, like, Andrew Kreisberg becomes involved, who's behind a lot of the CW series, and then Ben Percy takes over, and he's the one who's writing the Rebirth, or was.
Right.
So I've got to assume that series gets better, but it's a rough
You know what?
start.
Before I ever read a Green Arrow comic, I was fully aware that they were trying to make that Supermax movie.
Yeah.
Do you remember Supermax?
Oh yeah.
The whole idea, it was what's his stupid name? I hate his stuff.
Goyer.
Yeah, David
Yeah.
Goyer was putting together a movie where Green Arrow, you'd see like just 5-10 minutes of Green Arrow just being like a mass vigilante doing his superhero stuff, but then he gets framed and he goes into Supermax, which is like the super villain prison for like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And it's basically a prison break movie with just Arrow not in costume and everything, and working with like Killer Croc and all this other stuff. I remember at the time they're like, oh, it's going to have so many cameos, and the cameos were just going to be like a name on a door that says Riddler.
Yeah.
But like the concept seemed cool.
Yeah, and they do kind of use that same issue in the 7th season of Arrow.
That's what I've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do. They do. They're definitely pulling on your
Yeah.
familiarity with Supermax. in
Yeah.
that.
What else was going on at the time? So he was in the Justice League Unlimited. He's been in Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
So Justice League Unlimited is playing off of like the longbow hunter Kevin Smith stuff, where he like in the cartoon he's very much like, I'm an old leftist, the
Yeah.
government should be this and everything. Brave and the Bold is kind of going for the like Brave and the Bold does, going for the like 50s.
He's in that he's
in that other costume.
Yeah, it's James Arnold Taylor's voicing it, and he's in the red, like the red gloves and boots and the short sleeves in the more fun comics era costume, and I think he's one of the more regular characters in Brave
he's
and the
very
Bold.
regular. Yeah, him and Aquaman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they have a good thing, like him and Batman
Yeah.
work really well together. So I always look forward to that.
You like those Green Arrow shorts that Cartoon Network did
I do
with Will Friedle?
Will Friedle
Yeah.
as Green Arrow. Did
I
you
thought
watch-
they were okay, but the one where the bow is in where
Yeah.
Green Arrow's sentient bow is
Yeah.
in love with Cupid's bow.
Yeah.
But then like they have this heart to heart where they're just like, "You're my best friend,"
Yeah.
and Arrow's just like, "You're my best friend."
I
And they
think
just
it's funny.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can check those out.
Yeah.
I wasn't really a fan of the DC Showcase Green Arrow short.
Mm-hmm.
Neil McDonough is
Right.
Arrow in that. And I didn't really.
And then
like
he
that.
plays Damien Dark to fight Arrow.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Shows up in some other stuff, all those like kids straight to DVD stuff.
Mhm.
So, has he been like a big character in any of the DC animated universe stuff?
I don't really think so.
Like the big movies that have come out? I
No.
can't remember a thing where he's even like in the Justice League.
no,
Most of the
I
time.
think that Crisis on Two Earths he
Shows up.
gets a little play.
Hmm.
The Batman Unlimited movies.
Yeah, he's in there quite a bit.
He's pretty prominent in those.
Well, you got to sell the toys.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Uh,
I mean, when do you want to talk Smallville?
oh yeah, go ahead.
all right.
He was in Smallville.
This is probably my favorite on-screen.
This is probably a lot of
representation.
people's first experience with him. Period.
I think so. Green Arrow shows up in season 6 of Smallville, and it's perfect timing because with Smallville, by the time you get to season 6, you're out of high school. You've lost some main cast members.
Yeah.
We've sort of been like, we don't feel like doing college. And so I feel like they're kind of trying to find their groove.
Yeah.
And Green Arrow is really, even though Aquaman and Cyborg had appeared prior to this, Green Arrow showing up is really the new. He's like a harbinger of like now fun stuff's going
I think
down.
Smallville is pre-Arrow and post-Arrow.
Yeah.
In seasons.
Yeah.
And like the tone and stuff it goes for. It
Yeah.
seems like people are like, oh, but once Green Arrow shows up, the show gets really good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and he does show up in the 6th season, played by Justin Hartley, and Justin Hartley just nails it. I mean, he's just so good.
Right.
Like I think of these like lines that he does that are so funny. Like he's the king of the one-liners in that show.
Right.
He's got great chemistry with Tom Welling, and their friendship, like the Superman Green Arrow friendship, I really like.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite like on-screen duos in comic book adaptations. I really feel like they're great together. So he eventually becomes a regular on the show.
He was so popular that they talked about when Smallville was ending to make a Green Arrow spinoff with him, which then somehow transformed into Arrow.
Morphed into Arrow.
So.
Yeah, Smallville. I mean, this is not a Smallville spotlight, but I got to say that show was like a spin-off machine that they made no spin-offs from.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And every time something big
You
would
got that
happen,
Aquaman pilot.
Yeah, you got the Aquaman pilot, but not with the same Aquaman.
No.
Justin Hartley's playing Aquaman in that. But, when Supergirl comes on, there was instantly talk of a Supergirl show, instantly talk of a Green Arrow show, a Blue Beetle and Booster Gold show.
There were spin-offs talked about that with characters that never showed up. Wonder Woman was going to be in that show that was just going to be called Amazon.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Yep, there was going to be the Dick Grayson show. Remember, just the Graysons?
The Graysons. Oh, thank goodness.
I agree. I'm glad they didn't. But so he becomes a regular character in that and just kills it. I mean, I love him in that show. That really played into a lot of like my old school love of the Green Arrow character back from the 80s when I was enjoying the Green Arrow character.
How much did you play him in Justice League Task Force?
A lot.
Task Force on the Sega.
A lot on Sega Genesis. Yes, because he had freeze arrows, which were very helpful.
Why would you have freeze arrows in a fighting game?
Yeah, I don't know.
Seems like he's one of those troll characters.
Maybe.
You just stand on one corner and just shoot your arrows.
Freeze, yeah.
So
yeah, well, he's a lot of fun in that. And
is he in
apologize.
The Justice League DC Heroes game
For PlayStation?
like the Ultimate Alliance kind of game?
Yeah. Justice League Heroes. He is a playable character in that. I've never played the Brave and the Bold game, but he's a playable character in that.
Yeah.
And he's in several of the Lego games and all that. But
weird that he hasn't had his own game, especially during like Arrow.
Yeah,
seems like an easier.
But they never quite.
I guess the days of the '90s where a character didn't even have to be known to get a video game are kind of like gone.
Well, there's an Aquaman game for Xbox.
Yeah.
When Aquaman was toxic, they made that Xbox game.
I had a Green Arrow action figure.
Listen, I've been waiting for the right time to bring that up because I love those videos.
Yeah.
Where Green Arrow just does tours of places.
Yeah.
Can we post those on Twitter?
They are on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe they are on YouTube. I think they are.
People need to see them.
Yeah. When I was so I had got Green Arrow because it came with Green Arrow and Black Canary, and that's a whole different story. But I kept the Green Arrow, and it was based off the Justice League Unlimited design. And I used to live by myself in an apartment, and I went a little crazy. But my uncle lent me his video camera, and I just started taking that Green Arrow. And the first video, he's like introducing the pets I have in my apartment. The second one, he just does a whole tour of my apartment. And then there are videos that are gone now where like he went through where me and my friend Matt went to a abandoned building and we just climbed all like 5 stories of it, checking out, and Green Arrow was there and whatnot.
It's pretty good. They're pretty good stuff. I want those on
Anyway, Green Arrow basically makes fun of my apartment the whole time. So calls the owner of the apartment pathetic.
Really?
But that was me. That was me.
Boy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, these are going to go up on Twitter one way or another. So please.
The second one is the one I tend to show because it's like, you want to see where I lived? Yeah. You want to see how I grew up? You want to see how I had to do dishes in the tub?
Yeah, he's got a lot of confidence, that Green Arrow.
He does. He has. It came to a point. I know this is almost like psychological.
Yeah.
I had to talk to people afterwards. I'm like, I got to tell you something. I'm kind of jealous of the Green Arrow because he's confident, but also he seems smarter and wittier than me.
Yeah.
And a lot of times he seems quicker in a conversation, and I don't know how to channel that in my own life.
Yeah.
But there he went.
Yeah.
It was just me holding him in front of a camera,
Yeah.
but he was just so quick. He was just so
He
quick-witted
was.
and mean.
Lightning speed.
He insulted people so fast.
Let's talk about the CW.
The Arrow.
Yeah, let's talk about Arrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
what's-
after a failed, I guess it's not really a failed spinoff of Smallville, but then the movie
I don't know. I don't know how
'cause
this
it's like
talks.
it weirdly transformed into it.
Yeah,
And the non-Supermax movie that happened didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
He got his own show.
He finally
Arrow.
got his own show, which I still think was more a reaction to. It's like I feel like Smallville popularized the character, and people, were suddenly interested in him again. But they kind of just disregarded all the character building they did in that and went for a completely different take.
Yeah.
Which I was upset about at the time.
Yeah.
I still would have preferred a brighter
Yeah.
show, than the dour show that we got.
Yeah, but I mean, they weren't wrong to do what they did.
I guess
they,
not.
They made the money decision.
I guess
in a
not,
big
but
way. 8
but I mean-
seasons, and Flash is a spinoff.
It is,
of
yeah.
that, and then Legends of Tomorrow and all of that. I mean, every night there's a new superhero show on
Yeah.
CW. That Stargirl show
Yeah.
was going to be exclusive to the DC app and is now also going to be on CW.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but I think that I see this is a pet peeve of mine because people always act like Arrow is the one that like ushered this new age in, but it's
here we
really
go.
it's really
It's
Smallville.
Smallville.
It is.
I
It was
know.
on for 10 seasons
I
and all the
know.
things people like freak out about in Arrow. I'm like,
Yeah.
but in season 8 of Smallville they
Yeah.
did that. So,
but I
You
feel
know.
like
but that's neither here nor there. We
Yeah.
can just talk about Arrow.
I feel like Arrow and the Arrowverse have created. I don't know. Like Smallville was like when it first came out. That first season was huge.
Yeah.
But I feel like a big reason it also changed, besides like they were like, oh no, people have left and all this stuff, is because like maybe people were. I just like I soured on it. I know there's other people who soured on
Yeah.
it. So it kind of seemed like in the last couple of seasons, it had like a new audience that wasn't there
Yeah.
at like the beginning.
I think that's true.
Where I feel like Arrow has just been like building on its own
That's true.
thing. And like
You're right.
I think it's just a different tone. Like Arrow seems much more mainstream
Yeah.
than even when Smallville went like kooky crazy with all
Yeah.
its characters and their costumes. I feel like Arrow is kind of like the show you could talk about with kids at high school and not
Well,
get beat up for watching.
I think Smallville started as something that was more you'd more come to Smallville if you were a fan of like Dawson's Creek or 90210
Gilmore Girls, yeah.
than you would if you were a fan of like say Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
But I think with Arrow,
Mhm.
you don't have to be a comic book fan.
Yeah.
I mean, by the end, you definitely do. But
Mhm.
I think, in its base, and I still feel like it's more an answer to Batman Begins than Smallville.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that's more what they're going for.
Yeah.
And you're right, it does work. I mean, it although I think Flash surpassed it in the ratings
Really?
quite a while back. But I think that Stephen Amell is perfectly cast in that role.
Mhm.
But then they never let him like have that kind of
Some-
charm. that
yeah,
he has in
sometimes
real
he gets
life.
to
So
do
it's
it,
like,
and you're just like, oh.
it's like they cast him for that reason and then went in another direction.
It's
which,
funny whenever an
he-
Arrow character cameos on the Flash and they
Yeah.
get to be like fun
Yeah.
and have a good time. Like I remember when Diggle showed up on the Flash to help them get King Shark.
Yeah.
And, like Diggle and Layla are just gonna be like, hey,
Yeah.
what's going on?
I know.
Let's get us a
Yep.
shark.
Yep.
You're gonna need a bigger Flash.
Yeah.
And you just never see that kind of
I know. It's true. It's
So,
true.
Yeah.
And it never like in the crossovers and everything. It's
Mhm.
like I think Stephen Amell and like the Arrow character that they were able to create on that show, they really were able to give him like gravitas
Mhm.
and make him seem like the linchpin. Of
I mean,
this-
he's their
the whole
Batman,
group.
yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He really
He
is.
does-
He's the one that everybody.
Whenever
sort
he's
of-
talking to Flash or whatnot, he's talking to like other heroes the way Batman would.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So Arrow, I think, is crazy successful.
Yeah.
There's several novels based on it, which we have here.
Yeah.
There's several comic book adaptations of it that
Yeah.
we have here. So you can check.
Don't we
all
have
those
like
out.
isn't there like a year 0 or something that we have?
There's a Flash Year Zero, but there's
Oh, okay.
the Arrow like takes place within the show or follows like
Right.
Malcolm Merlin or different characters.
Yeah.
But I even though I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Arrow,
Mhm.
like there's seasons that I really love and
Yeah.
other ones where I think like you've got to move the clock on this because
Yes.
I'm bored out of my mind.
Yeah. Season 4.
Yeah, seriously. But by the time you get to the end, I mean it is kind of a satisfying.
Yeah.
It is a satisfying thing. Like they built
Yeah.
they built a good house,
Yeah.
and because of that, we're able to do so much
Yeah.
more.
See, you're right though, because at one point I was like, "Yeah, what is it? The longest running superhero show?" But then I'm like, "Oh wait, Smallville was 10 seasons."
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
This-
Are
I-
you going to finish Arrow? Do you think?
Yeah, we just finished season 5.
Okay.
We just got back to it.
Yeah.
We finished
It's
season
those
3 of
darn
Flash.
crossovers. Those
It is.
Crossovers.
It's the crossovers
Yeah.
that have stopped me from finishing and catching up with Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That makes me annoyed.
Yeah.
But the way Netflix works is that as soon as the season ends, it ends up on Netflix.
Yeah.
So now season 8's there.
Oh,
so we
cool.
just got 3 seasons of Arrow to get
Yeah.
through.
Plus the crossovers.
I really liked season 5.
Yeah.
I think for me it's like season 2, season 5, season 1, and then season 3 and 4 are fighting for which one I disliked the
Yeah.
most. Ra's al Ghul or Damien Dark.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
Those were rough seasons. So there you go.
I think he gets his groove back in 7 and 8.
Yeah.
You know.
Obviously, you're right. There's things I don't like. Like Prometheus is like the main villain of season 5, and I'm like, oh, Prometheus from Grant Morrison's Justice League. He's this cool character who can like insert these programs into his helmet, and he can have like the fighting styles of other people. No, he's just another Archer. They're always just another Archer. It's fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, a lot of the season arc villains, some of them, Ricardo Diaz is a recurring villain on that show who I feel like it's 3 seasons and it just won't end. It just won't end.
sometimes it's funny. Like there was that one, like maybe it was the first crossover with the Flash where Arrow and what were they calling him? Arsenal.
Yeah.
Anyways, Arrow and Roy are fighting Captain Boomerang.
Yeah.
And it's just the 3 of them, and Captain Boomerang's just like holding his boomerangs and using them like
Right.
swords.
Yeah.
And Arrow's you just using his bow as a
Right.
weapon. And I'm like, this is silly.
Yeah,
this is a silly thing for
that's not
grown-ups to
working.
do.
That's not working.
So
Yep.
anyway,
All right. So
but yes, I like Arrow.
you consider yourself a fan of Arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we watched Flash first and then went back and started going through Arrow. And it's definitely a show that like grew on me. I wasn't a huge fan of the first season, but season 2 kind of won me over. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, if you had to recommend, somebody's never heard of the character. All right, they've never heard of the character.
Oh, wow.
What are you going to have them read?
Probably year 1,
Year 1.
I think.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it is one of the weirdly successful year 1s.
Yeah.
It's weird that that's such a hard thing to do, but
Yeah.
I think that's good because I don't know, it still feels modern. The art's kind of cool. There's no like baggage you have to carry on. And then if you like that, then probably like that Longbow Hunters or maybe Rebirth or something. I don't know.
Yeah. See, I would say I think you're right. If it's somebody totally blind, I think year 1 is probably the best place to go. I think if you've seen the show or Green Arrow's a character that you're like, yeah, I know who that is, then I think Longbow Hunters is really worth the
that's a good
time
one, yeah.
for you because
year 1's not going to tell you anything you don't know.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. So I think if you know nothing year 1, if you know a little, I think Longbow Hunters, and I think if you have any intention of reading Green Arrow, Longbow Hunters is the one that's you have to read. It's indispensable.
Yeah.
You've got to read that one.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Green Arrow story?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, yes, year 1, but I do like those
Denny O'Neill.
the Denny O'Neill ones. So I haven't read too much. So
Yeah.
I should go back now, or I should read the Longbow Hunter stuff.
I
then
really think you should.
then reread the
I think
Kevin
you'd
Smith
enjoy
stuff.
that. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm loving the Longbow Hunter stuff. I think if I had to choose just a favorite, it would be one called Green Arrow: The Wonder Year, and it's really a standalone 4-issue story, and it's kind of it's not really an origin. It's not really a year 1, though you get flashbacks to sort of explaining his origin. But it is.
I like watching Wildcat beat the living crap out of him in the Justice League Unlimited
that's
episode.
fun.
That was a fun episode.
But Wonder Year, I think it has really good characters in it. It's got a political tinged plot.
His voice starts breaking for
And-
the first time.
Yeah.
He joins the football team,
Right,
but maybe too
exactly.
soon.
But for me, that was my favorite because I think that it is Mike Grell, but it's really standalone. It captures the character really well. It gives you a satisfying it's self-contained and it's satisfying in a way that I think you could just, if you know the character at all, you could pick it up and read it and get a lot out of it. That is my personal favorite, but I'm going to agree with you that going blind, you want to go year 1. If you're a fan at all, go Longbow Hunters.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I think
I gotta go eat.
Is there anything left to say
About Green Arrow?
The Green Arrow.
I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the All the Book Show. I feel like this is one of our longer episodes.
Don't
But
call that out.
I'd keep talking about Green Arrow. So
Okay.
I guess
Yeah.
we just got to cut it.
Mhm.
Next week, special guest star Hillary Gunning of previously on X-Men.
I didn't know this was happening.
You didn't?
This is literally the first time I've heard of this.
Oh.
I didn't approve of this.
You thought we were going to do a Birds of Prey spotlight without Hillary?
I had hoped.
She's the Birds of Prey expert.
Yeah.
Well, she was already not pleased that we didn't call her in to do Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I thought she doesn't even like Next Gen.
Well, Anyway.
That's not our Star Trek.
Anyway, Hillary from Previously on X-Men is going to join us
Yep.
here to talk about all things Birds of Prey, and hopefully
of
we'll
Prey.
have a movie review for you at that point,
Yeah.
too. After that, we're going to be talking about Jack London, and then we have a lot of fun interviews lined up as well,
Yeah.
so stay tuned here on the All the Book Show. All right.
You're really leaning into that microphone.
Thank
It's
you.
Like it's like you're delivering
Because
War
it
of the Worlds
keeps-
right now.
It keeps moving
okay.
from
Yeah.
side to side.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.